from an academic's perspective, this is one of those situations where you are genuinely putting yourself in the firing line to have people criticise and observe about possibly the surprising factors. This is a set of numbers that we weren't expecting. They're too big, they're too small, you've measured the wrong thing, or you've measured it in the wrong way. I mean, to a certain extent, whatever you come up with as a criticism is a really wonderful observation, because A, it means you care, B, it means that you've thought about the results that we've generated, and C, it means that I'm implicating you to come up with something better. What we've done here, I mean, the comment that was made earlier by Julie was that there has been some research that I know, because we were a part of it, that tried to estimate the value of projects to the UK economy. That is an almost impossible question to answer. So we've ducked the bullet on what's the value of projects to the economy, because they're just impossible to deviate from the activities that the rest of us do. But in terms of project management, you can actually start doing that. And as Julie indicated, what you start to do is realise that the term project management that I'm guessing everybody in this room recognises is a term that lots of people who do project management wouldn't call themselves project managers. But they're implementing the techniques, the processes, the mindsets that we define as project management. And it was the estimation of who's doing that type of role that led to the research question that we tried to answer. And that then led to, as you heard from Julie, who really clearly, but I mean, there's an enormous amount of work that underlied, that she summarised in what she just said just now, which is trying to work out exactly how, say for example, I mean, I've just written down a couple of examples, but the one I'll give you is every person in this room, I would imagine, has got a smartphone. On your smartphone is an app. An app developer is a project manager. So there is plenty of examples of people that are doing these sorts of roles, and using the GVA approach gives us some handle. It's an internationally recognised, it provides a sectoral, organisational and geographic comparison under which you can actually take this forward. So I'm not saying it's right, I'm just simply saying that it's a serious step in progressing our understanding of the role of project management, and I stand behind it. I'll take on any questions as and when they arise later on in the debate, but I think that this is an amazingly good step and provides other nations with an ability to take our approach and compare their situation to ours.
So from Network Rail, corporately, this research strongly supports what we do, how that the project management profession is pivotal in delivering successful projects. Now, 70% of the work that we do is centred around projects and the support of that. And my role, and certainly my department's role, wouldn't exist if we didn't support that idea. I work for the profession, looking after projects and programmes portfolio, and this report certainly highlights the increase in demand we put on project managers. So 2/3 of the budget for Network Rail was spent on delivering projects throughout Network Rail for the benefit of the UK and the economy. So we're mindful of the increase in demand we put on project managers, and as pointed out by a number of people today, that doesn't necessarily mean you have project manager in your title. So we need to be increasingly mindful of the flexibility of the change management, engineering management. We're all project managers. So and going forward, we've got the digital age, which we are increasingly going forward and supporting, and that's a different skill set altogether. So, you know, we're looking to the future and we need to continue to support that.
The basis of the report for us is about enabling you to take the report back into your organisations and really raise that profile and importance of what you and your teams are doing. And I think we've struggled with that before because people generally see that projects make a big difference, but there hasn't been any research that we can really back that up with. And as a result of that, I hope the investment in project management becomes higher, the attention of the most senior people in the organisation is drawn to it, and in a result that we end up having more success in project delivery and can deliver better benefits back.
I have a slightly privileged position, I guess, to have sat between sort of the academic perspective of what was produced and the practitioner's perspective. And I'd like to focus a bit more on the practitioner perspective, because we've heard a little bit of the academic perspective. And for me, my career, I don't know about many of you, but did I start off saying, I want to be when I grow up, I want to be a project manager? I didn't even really know what that meant. I chose to be in engineering. Guess what? I became a project manager almost immediately. Did I know that at the time? No, I didn't. And in a way, I became an accidental project manager. And that idea of being brought into this profession in such an unpredictable way or unpronounced way took me a while to actually get my head around that. And I think, as many of you and the people you work with, is to be sympathetic. Look at the words and the text in the paper, but what's the human dimension to this? I get asked quite regularly from a range of people, some who are tremendously experienced, and some that are just, don't know what a project plan is, could you please help me? And I get a bit irritated by that, and I start, well, actually, that's where I started. And I think all of us need to think about the journeys of these huge numbers of people that are involved in project management, the project management profession, and help them along that journey. I see this strange word, projectification, and that word is chosen because it's about a bit of an awkward word, but there isn't really another word that can be used to define this journey from not knowing much about projects to all of a sudden being immersed, and that could be at an organizational level or an individual level. So I guess I'm sort of turning it to us as a community, is when we leave this room, is how are we helping the individuals we work with and the larger society to help with that journey? And these numbers just say, you know what, this matters. The point of it to me as a practitioner, this matters, and we have to do more as practitioners to help with that journey. There's breadth and depth in those ideas beyond, what is a project plan? What are the cultural journeys? What are the personal journeys? What are the leadership journeys that people have to go through? And I think we have a lot more learning to make and to produce collectively, and I just sort of challenge us to do that as practitioners. This study was conducted in the UK. For me, actually, there's a much broader global conversation. Having left the UK and moved to Canada, I'm now saying, what does the Canadian picture look like? What is different? What is the same? And how might we actually learn from the differences between different geographic regions? There might be something in that. And I think as policymakers, in different governments, is to really look at what it means on a societal level and what role that they might play. And I'm pleased to see it, having worked in the UK, is there is some very good leadership within government and awareness. I'm not convinced they're the same in the UK or in Canada, and I'm hoping that they learn from that and actually take this journey as well.
I think it creates lots more work for us actually about how we create a career path in that profession, how we make things like charter become standard as they are in other professions. So it really encourages us right from school leavers throughout your career to create what is a normal career path and a career of first choice. And I think currently that isn't the case, and people go all sorts of different routes. We should be inclusive of that, but we should also make it really simple for people to pick project management as a career and know what they need to achieve at every stage in that career.
Project management is a range of skills, and it takes a different skill set to deliver a repeatable, low complex project than it is to develop a mega project that's such as Crossrail, Thameslink, etc. And we need to recognise that there's a different skill set, because a project manager doing one thing is not going to be the project manager you put on the other. And it's recognising the different career paths that you would take. So it's recognising that mega projects perhaps would need and encourage that differential by the chartership or the registered project professional there. And also recognising that there's project managers that aren't in the family, that aren't called project managers, and therefore we need to recognise those and bring them in and make sure they've got the right skill set to project manage their projects effectively.
I'll just give two examples. The UK government through the Infrastructure Projects Authority and the generation of the government's major projects and programmes portfolio, the fact that policy is delivered through projects now means that virtually all senior civil servants are going to get trained in project management skills. The recognition being that we don't make big change without understanding how to deliver successful projects, even if they're not the hard engineering type stuff that most of us maybe think about. And the second thing is that any of you with kids, particularly at secondary school, how many of your children come back talking about the project that they've got to do for school? So project management becomes an essential life skill. It's something that employers look for from the earliest stages of a career right the way through to the most senior levels. So from the youngest to the oldest, whether you're in the third sector, public sector or private sector, all walks of life, we're all project managers at some point. Any of you who've got married, done big life touring, holiday or that sort of stuff, you've done projects. Whether you've done them well, you'll all reflect on whether you could have done it better. The point is that we've got the ability as professionals to help people to make the projects that they do better than just leaving it to random chance. And I think that that's an obligation on us to assist those people to do exactly that.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I think the boundaries of different professions will definitely cross over in those ways, because in every profession there are certain skills that are going to become important. I think for us it's about embracing that rather than trying to put a ring fence around it, and really looking at how we can work with others to also get project management part of their profession as much as we will do that. So for us it's about collaboration and the fact that in the end we are all aspiring to the same thing, which is that our delivery is improved and that as a result of that the benefit is improved.
And I think what you are identifying with any role, there are multiple dimensions to those particular specialties. And I would respond in this way in saying there are some individuals who would say, I am the purest of project leaders and project managers, and that's the label I'm going to put on myself. But even if you do that, you're going to have to learn other skills. And so you have to blend that with different industries, or in some of the examples you gave with procurement or whatever. So, but your home is sitting with the profession. It might be the other way around. But in either case, there's still that specialty, there's that still professional capability, that learning that has to blend into the two, and there'll be a spectrum. There's going to be a continuum. But I would say, I would ask the same question, not just to project professionals, but whether you're a lawyer and these other areas as well. So.
For those of you who like books, there's a book that was produced by some people in Stanford, and it's called Executing Strategy. And it basically argues that anybody at senior level that's got a strategy, and for this, if you're in the political arena, policy, they will be delivered by projects. Non-routine, irregular activities that have significant outcomes riding on them. So if you're at that C-suite level, to understand that if you're going to, I mean, you know, a hot topic in my world now that I've kind of moved into the world of real estate is if you're a retailer and you've got a bricks and mortar business, you have got a major challenge. You have got a burning platform that you've got to do something about. What you do and how you do it is a project. Whether you I mean, one of the things that's I mean, forgive me for talking about something I'm particularly keen on, about who kills bad projects? Who is it that's at the C-suite that says, that's a daft idea, if you carry on with it, you will burn money, destroy effort, upset morale, and end in disaster? Where does that get stopped? Because if you end up as a project manager being given all of this, you're just told to deliver it. And I think that the issue for the profession is to actually get further into upstream so that we can actually shape projects, so that we can deliver successful projects, rather than just being told, okay, I'll deliver it, but if I'd have had my way, I mean, we've all been in that situation where somebody says, well, I wouldn't have started from this position. And we've got to move up that to the very highest level to shape the project so that we can make sure that we're able to deliver them.
As I've climbed the slippery career slope, the poll, you do realise the different levels of recognition for the profession, for sure. And we have a number of accidental project managers because it needs managing, and as you rightly point out, it's operational. It's seen as an operational. However, I think that we need to use this research proactively to point out the figures, and the figures are proof that actually this, the pivotal role that they play, and therefore the leadership that project managers need to be recognised for, and therefore when you start a project right through to the end, actually listen to the shape and the direction that the project needs to take, and the impact that a change and that could make to the whole thing, and to change it. So it's kind of, listen to the expertise and recognise that the project managers do actually know what they're doing.
However brilliant project managers are, the environment in which they have to deliver also has significant impact. So about 5 years ago, we did a piece of research around conditions for project success. And there are lots of conditions that also have to be met to enable projects to be successful. We're about to repeat that piece of research now to see if over 5 years those have changed because of the change in technology and things like that. But obviously there are lots of areas that we need to seek to influence outside of the project manager themselves to give them that best opportunity of success.
There are some organizations that recognize the significance of projects and project management to their organization, and Sue's an example of that. So those organizations, where are they having those conversations? How can we as a community participate in that conversation? So I say that's one conversation. There's some organizations that don't recognize the key messages that we have identified in this research. And so I'm looking to this entire audience to say is how can you incite those conversations within your organization that this matters to you, and to get certain kind of a perspective on that. And when does that become relevant? It's usually when you're launching some major activity or program or project. And to get the right conversations happening earlier, that actually it's not so simplistic. It's not just about project plans. There's a bit more going on here. There's a journey that organizations are going through, and that there are many individuals that are involved, not just in the project team, that are relevant to the success of those kinds of conversations. When can we get the language for ourselves to actually have that meaningful conversation? And I would say currently, sometimes those conversations are not being had, but at the right time by the right people. So where can we have that? And there is a role for academics as well, to present some of these ideas, to extend it, to keep challenging the industry, to provide additional insights. And I said there's at least those 3 types of conversations, and there's probably others if we sat and thought about it, but let's take these ideas and find where we can have those particular conversations.
From our point of view, the figures are very strong. So we need to be having the conversations, and as the gentleman over there pointed out, we need to be having those at senior level, because that's where the culture changes, and that's where the message is enhanced. And so it's using that, but recognising that the environment is changing. So as John pointed out when he opened, that there is a skill set that is recognised for project managers, but actually there's a differential in the skill sets that we need, and going forward into the digital age, there'll be a new set of skills that we need to keep up with. So we need to work very closely with the APM to make sure that those skill sets are recognised, and we keep having those conversations and developing the evolving profession that is project management.
First of all, we want to make it easy for you to have that debate in your organisation. So we'll be providing sort of commentary on the report, we'll be providing slides that you can download and make it easy for you to take those back and have a conversation outside of just the report itself. I think for us there is a lot about repetition. You can't say something just once. So I think by the end of the year you might be a little bit tired of hearing about the golden thread, because it's our plan to keep raising that on the agenda all the time and keep referring people back to it until we get that message to drip through further. And finally, the other element from us is then about how we take this report and adapt what we offer the community. So what we offer in terms of the qualifications, the relevance of those, about keeping the integrity and value of Charter, and then really looking outside of that for those other project success. So how do we support sponsors? How do we support the senior reporting officer, responsible officer? What are the things that we can really do to start bringing this home in a wider audience?
I work for PwC currently, and I've worked with various other organizations, and in each of those organizations that I've worked with, including PwC, I challenge myself to take these messages out to those that matter. And there's individuals that work within PwC who are aspiring to their accidental project manager or aspiring, and I do work with them and I provide support for them, but also working with clients. These messages aren't always obvious or heard in the way that are relevant at the right time. So I'll be taking out the findings of this report and exploiting them when I can with working with clients, but when it's relevant to them. And I encourage, again, others to do the same. And within our own environment, I look to support my own colleagues in their accidental project management journeys.
There are three things as an academic that we can now do. First is that we can encourage more research along these lines. Somewhere like London is a beacon. I mean, we're in an iconic building that the world sort of looks at, and the world will be looking at this report. And we've got an opportunity sectorally, geographically, even down to organisations, certainly the very big organisations like the Network Rails of this world and the MODs and all of that, they can start to investigate just how much of project management permeates their organisation and ask them serious questions. So that's on the kind of on the linking part that we can act as a beacon thing. Obviously, there's more research that can be done. The key thing from us is that we can teach this stuff. We can now start to teach this, and we can actually start to push this forward as an agenda that says, I was thinking earlier about when Julie was describing about the Chartered Institute of Marketing. There are lots of people that do marketing that aren't marketing professionals. It's exactly the same for project management. If you're an architect and you're not on the architectural registration list, you cannot call yourself an architect, but there are plenty of people that do building design. So we're a 21st century profession. We've just got to accept that. That is an absolute fact. Therefore, are we a closed profession along the lines of law and medicine and accountancy, or are we going to be an open and permeable one? I think this is a discussion that the APM can lead on, but by having the evidence that this report and further reports that are going to be like this will develop, is the importance of the role that we are taking in society, the economy, and critically going forward with climate change, the environment. We will be in a position to influence this. And as academics, I mean, one of the early things that we can do is we can talk to the ONS and start them to refine their standard occupation codes so that we can do the next one of these a lot easier. The ONS would be quite happy to do it. They've got to adjust some questions in their survey. It's not beyond the wit of man to come up with this, and now we can start to do that.
I'll comment specifically on the assurance perspective, partly because it's an area that I work directly, but I think it's important that you shifted the conversation a little bit in terms of defining the scope. Now it's, can we do it well? And we all know that there are challenges for delivering projects. This is a great secret. So the question for me then is, now that we know the magnitude, or we have data that gives us a better idea of the magnitude, is let's change the conversation to delivering well. And there are some things that, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of work that's happening currently. There's a few areas that are under research, and I think assurance is one of them, and I think we should look at perhaps what that might look like in terms of a research domain.